How's it going, guys? Jeff with the Motor Mindset channel here. It's Saturday morning, the weather is beautiful, and I bought a project. This is a 1969 Yamaha DS6 252 stroke. It does run and drive, it goes through all the gears. Brakes are a suggestion at best. That's going to be one of the first things we try to address. Brakes and carburetors seem out of whack, they're a little boggy off the line. Once it does come out of that and comes on the power band, it does seem to run pretty well. I guess it was stuck when the guy got it, and he pulled the top end apart and put rings in it, and it seems to have good compression, seems to run on both cylinders just fine. It's a little cold-blooded, but that's okay. Lighting system does not work. There's no switchgear on the handlebars. He's just got a switch rigged up here, on, off, so we'll have to address that, get a key switch. I don't know if the charging system's working. He's just got an AGM battery, like a fish finder battery hooked up. I'd be surprised if the charging system worked. I don't have a headlight or tail light, but that's something we're going to dig into, and hopefully we can get some lights going. Turn signals I'm not worried about. I'm not sure if this bike even came with turn signals from the factory. That's probably an option, but hopefully we can build something cool out of it and keep it around for a little while. So stay tuned. We've got the bike in the shop here. I think the first thing I'm going to do is pull these carbs off, give them a quick cleaning. They're just a standard Mikuni carb. That's what's nice about a lot of these two-stroke bikes, is they came with these Mikunis, which I'm really familiar with just from working on snowmobiles. Obviously these are not factory. They look like they're pretty caked in dirt. I don't know if I can clean those out, but we'll see what we can do with those. I'm going to pull my carbs off. Should just be clamp on either carb, pull the throttle slides out, unhook our choke here. I don't know if this choke is correct or if these carbs are even correct for this bike, but the choke lever is between the two carbs. I've never seen it that way. Usually they're on the outside. So I don't know if this is backwards, if the lever should be on the outside over here, but it works. I've also got some spark plugs, spark plug boots, and then we'll put some wires on it. Might try to pull the points cover off. I think the points are underneath on this side. And just check the gap on those, see what they look like. I don't have any new points to put in it, but maybe set the gap and clean them up a little bit. I would also like to check the charging system, see if that's working. I've been riding it around quite a bit and the battery hasn't gone dead on me yet, so that might be a good sign, but just the ignition system isn't going to take much electrical draw, so who knows. We'll put a multimeter on that and see if it's putting out any voltage. So I'm going to get these carbs pulled off and then we'll see what they look like. Apparently that shut-off valve does not work. Oh, we had it in the wrong position. Okay. There we go. Get these tucked up. These caps on top just unthread. This is your throttle slide. They just pull out. Like that. That. And then there's just a kind of a hose clamp type deal that holds each carb onto the flange. And I'm going to undo, and then these carbs should just pop straight off. Wiggle a bit. Just there. Yep. Come on. There we go. Here's two. Let's bring these over to the bench. This is the way the previous owner had these carbs set up with the choke in the middle. He mentioned something about the bike not wanting to run right when the carbs were switched around, so he had them this way. Like I was saying earlier, it didn't make a lot of sense that the choke lever was in the middle. You kind of have to reach underneath the gas tank and flip that choke, but all you'd have to do is switch the carbs side to side there, and then the choke's on the outside, and then these clamps as well are easier to get to rather than trying to work between the two carbs. But I got the gas drained out of them. Let's get one of them pulled apart here and see what it looks like inside. Well, I thought I had all the gas drained out. We have some little rusty crap floating in the bottom there. But I'm not really concerned about that. What I am concerned about is this slime that the previous owner used to seal up these bowls. Carb kits are pretty readily available for Mikuni's, so it's not like it's difficult to find a gasket for these. But this stuff is obviously not rated for gas. It's just kind of smearing all over the place. We're gonna have to get all that cleaned up and then order some carb kits for it. But we're gonna get it torn apart here. Check and see if the floats are good. Pull our main jet out. Right down there is our pilot jet. Always make sure you want to pull that out because the bike will not idle if that's dirty. We'll get it all stripped down, and then I think we're going to give them a soak in the Berryman's carb dip. This other carb is even worse. The stuff is just caked on there and it peels off, and I'm sure it's getting all up in these jets and clogging stuff up. So we'll get them both stripped down and see what we can see. Alright, next up we're going to be popping the seat off so we can pull the tank off and then replace these spark plug wires and caps. I think it's just two 17mm bolts, one on each side on the back here. Then we should be able to pull it up and then backwards, and then it should just be a couple bolts holding the back of the tank down. So let's get the seat pulled off. Then we can also take a look at our electrical system, see what kind of wiring we have going on, if we have anything left. So we'll see what we're getting ourselves into. Go. I think it should just, pulls up and then back. There's a couple of hooks that hook underneath and keep it locked down in the front. So we got that off. Seat pan looks like it's in good shape. A lot of times it'll be completely rusted out. Well, it's got some rust along the edges. I think I'm going to replace this seat anyways. I don't know if I can get a cover for it, but I'm not really crazy about the overall shape of it. And then tank as well. I think I'm going to look around and see if I can find something that's a little less bulbous. Even the earlier Yamaha tanks had a nicer look to them. So did the RDs for that matter. So this is kind of an in-between that I'm not too crazy about. Plus it's pretty beat up with these dents. So I'm going to do some looking, see what I can find, see what kind of fits the whole vibe of the bike. And hopefully I can come up with a decent replacement that'll fit on here nicely. And then I'll figure out, I'll probably just do a flat seat on it, nothing too fancy. Looking at our electrical here, we do have a voltage regulator still. I don't know what that is. I did order a book for this bike that has a full color wiring diagram, that's what I wanted to say. And everything, so I can kind of take a look and see what's going on here, but really it doesn't look hacked. Kind of looks like it should. We've got some electrical tape. I don't know if that's factory, it very well could be. Mitsubishi regulator rectifier. I might see if I could upgrade that just to get a more modern electrical system going here. Once we get these carbs back together, we can run the bike, test the charging system, and see if it's actually doing what it's supposed to. But looks like it's one through bolt on the tank here, so I'm going to get a wrench and a ratchet, get that set up, and then I'll see if I can pop this tank off. Got that off. Not sure how much is in the tank. Enough to leak out, apparently. Ooh. Maybe we can... This is kind of a neat setup. So they've got a cap that threads onto the end of the coil here. Then they've got this little rubber fitting here, and it kind of keeps the coil wire from pulling out. On most coils like this, motorcycles and snowmobiles and stuff, inside they've got a threaded kind of a pin, and then you just take the plug wire and you thread it in, but this actually has a cap that you screw down onto the coil that'll keep you from pulling that plug wire out. Just thought that was kind of neat. So I'm going to pull both of these off. This is just a little grommet that'll slip over the new wire, and then as you tighten it down, it'll kind of pinch it. So I'm going to pull both of these off and get a couple of new wires cut up out of my kit here. And then I'll put the new caps on, and then we'll get it all back together. We've got both plug wires stripped down to all their components here. Caps we're not going to use. The only parts we're going to use are these plastic caps that screw onto the coils, and then these little fittings here that go on the wire to snug everything down. We're going to measure out our new wire. This is just wire from a Universal 4-cylinder tune-up kit that I got from Fleet Farm. It's nothing fancy. As long as it's copper core, you don't want a carbon core wire. It's not going to play well with old ignition systems. So we got that one. It's not rocket science here. You just gotta make sure you get it in the ballpark. You don't want them too short so there's any stress on them, so they're getting pulled on. Okay, get rid of that stuff. We've got new plugs and caps, also from Fleet Farm. Not a sponsor yet, but maybe someday. Then these come with the little rubber caps that go on either end. This one over the plug, and the wire goes in this end. I don't know if you can see. There's that threaded spike that I was talking about earlier. That just screws into the wire itself. And that's how you get your contact, because there's stranded wire inside these plug wires. So you just thread it in. You don't want to strip it out so it pulls out. Just thread it good ways till you kind of feel some resistance. Give it a couple tugs so you know it's not going to pull out. And we'll slide our cap on here. If you were smart, you would have done this from the other end before you put the plug wire on, or the plug cap on, because now I have to work it all the way down. No, you don't need to see that. You guys get the idea. When I buy spark plugs for stuff like this, I always try to get the ones with the threaded top on it, because a lot of times, especially these NGK boots, will not accept that threaded piece. Well, I can't get it off now. Here, let's use the worst tool for the job here. There we go. So a lot of times it needs to be that threaded electrode in order for it to fit and snap into that plug cap. So I always try to get the threaded ones. Makes things easier. Okay, we've got our new plug wires all assembled. Let's go get them back on the bike and then pop our new spark plugs in. New plug wires are in. That went pretty smoothly. Reminds me I gotta tighten up that clamp quick. Don't need our coils rattling around when we're going down the road. There we go. Now let's pop out our plugs quick. Our throttle cable isn't looking too good there either. We'll have to maybe tape that up or something. Looks like it's got Champion plugs in it right now. Typically I run NGKs in most of my two-stroke stuff. Just kind of what I've always done. They look pretty good. Jetting looks like it's right there. I've got no reason to believe that it's been messed with at all. Show you a little closer. You gonna focus? There we go. Yeah, it doesn't look too bad. Since we've got the tank pulled off, I think the next thing we're going to do is try to address this throttle cable. It's a single cable that goes into this split here, and then that pulls both of the throttle slides as you twist the throttle there. And this cap is supposed to snap on there, but there's a chunk missing. While it's already pulled apart, I'm going to try to lube this cable. So I'm going to get this cap pulled away. You can get right into the casing there. Now here's a little life hack for you guys. You can buy these syringes on Amazon. They're used for filling inkjet cartridges. It's got a blunt needle on the end, and you can get them in like a 10-pack. The pack I got actually came with little flexible lines too you can put on the end. I've just got it filled with chain lube here. You can use a straw that comes on the aerosol can, but this is way more controllable. You're not spraying stuff all over the place. So these are cheap. You can get them on Amazon. You can reuse them until they wear out, basically forever. I've also packed them with grease, and you can get into tight areas, needle bearings and stuff like that, if you can't remove the bearing and pack it the traditional way. So that's something everybody should have in their toolbox right there. So we're just going to try to get as much cable lube in there as we can. Hopefully we'll get it to run down the other side here. We've got the throttle cable all lubed up. It feels like it's nice and free. It's returning like it should. It was a little stiff before, but that feels good. I think we're going to give the brake and the clutch the same treatment. Looks like I'm going to have to pull the levers out just so I can get access to the end of the cable. So I'm going to do that. And then the rear brake also has a cable on it. This is kind of a goofy setup. So I guess these early Yamahas, the chain drive was on the right-hand side. That's how British bikes used to be. And Harley Sportsters for some reason too. But chain drive's on the right side, and of course you got your brake pedal on the right side too, because Yamaha for some reason thought left-hand shifter, right-hand brake like a traditional motorcycle. So you've got this goofy cable that runs all the way up, then back down the other side and hooks into our drum brake in the back there. So maybe I'll try to pull it off down here at the brake, and then I can hold it up and use gravity to kind of lube it and get that lube all the way down through it. So I'm going to pull these apart and I will be back. Probably wouldn't hurt to have a little dab of grease on our pivot bolt and the end of our cable here too. So I notice that's got a little corrosion on it. But I'm sure it's probably binding up in our lever a little bit there. So make sure to hit that. This is the grease I use. I'm going to be using on all these controls and brake linkages, stuff like that. It's just a marine grade grease. Comes in a nice convenient squeeze tube. You can get that anywhere. I think I got this at Fleet Farm, but any marine supply place, anything like that. Seems to work really well. We've got our front brake cable all lubed and back together. All the pivot points are greased as well. Feels really nice. All the adjustments are backed all the way out right now, so I've got no brake pressure on the front. So what we're going to do is we're going to come down to the wheel first, and we're going to adjust it down here until we get a little bit of tension on there, or just when it's about to grab, and then we'll lock that in with our lock nut there, and then we'll dial it in with our adjuster at the handlebar up here. So I'm going to start working on that. So I've got the front wheel off the ground now. I've got it jacked up with a floor jack. I think it's about time I get a motorcycle lift. It's been on my list for a long time. But anyway, we've got it adjusted down at the brake here, where it grabs after about 1/4 of an inch there. Give it a spin. The wheel bearings feel good. Just a little bit of movement there. So now we're going to go up to the bars. I think we're going to try to move that out a little bit. It's starting to feel good. Let's go a little more. Checking as we go. Make sure our wheel still spins. Feels good. Let's even go a little more. It feels pretty good at the bars there. Do we still have movement down here? We do. I'd say that's probably good. The reason we do most of the adjustment down at the wheel is if you want to make any small adjustments up here, it's a lot easier to do this than mess around down there. You don't need any tools for this one. So we got that taken care of. I think next we're going to try to lube that clutch cable. You want me to throw that? You ready? You ready? Yeah? Good boy. Yeah, that feels great. I'll have to pop the side cover off here too, just to see if we get that lube all the way through. I think those bars are bent a little bit. I think we might have to do some shopping, get some new bars. We're going to make a quick hardware store run, see if we can get some new screws for that clutch cover. These are all pretty chewed up, so hopefully we can find something that'll work. Okay, we're back from the hardware store. We got our clutch cable all lubed up and back together. I think there's a little adjustment I have to make down at the clutch itself here, because when I pull the lever, there's a notchiness right there, and then you feel the pressure of compressing those plates. So I don't know, I know there's a set screw and a locking nut in the middle there. I don't know why there's a little notchiness, and then you hit the resistance. So I'm gonna mess with that set screw and see if I can get some of that play out of there, because it looks like it's about the first 2 inches of travel on the lever up here before you actually compress the clutch. So I'm gonna play around with that a little bit and see what I can find. I think I got it where I want it now. It feels nice and smooth. I guess we'll find out when we take it for a test ride, see if it slips or not. It feels good. It felt kind of funky before when I was riding it, so hopefully that's kind of where it needs to be. So we got clutch done, front brake done. I think next up is our rear brake cable. Sketchy situation.